Are you a team leader or a productive real estate agent that's been thinking about, should I open my own brokerage? Well, today let's talk about the pros and cons of opening your own real estate brokerage.
Join us on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
You've reached the WB&L Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome everyone to the Wandering But Not Lost WB&L podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 237, and you can find all of those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, we just got off of 2 weeks of Yosef from Realty One Group, New Jersey. He had a ton of little pearls of wisdom in his in his interview. It was fun to watch that. It was so much we had to split it into two. So hope everyone enjoyed that. It was good stuff.
Good interview. Great little pearls of wisdom from all his experience. We appreciate him.
And some of our topic today, some of the things he kind of talked about himself, because he went through a lot of this process.
Absolutely. He's got now 2 brokerages that he's owned and been a part of and grown. And that's we're inspired to talk about in the next 3 episodes. It's really geared towards opening your own brokerage. And I've counseled and consulted with various people through the years to how to set that up and help some of our clients do the very same thing. And Matt and I, with our previous partner, Richard Brocken, who's now happily retired. Yeah. Rich, if you're watching, I hope your retirement's going well. It's everything that you've always wanted. We actually started our own brokerage together. And I put the checklist that I had created that we will be sharing in future episodes for you. If you are interested, we'll be sharing the ideas, and we've got we're putting together, I think, a great piece for you if you're really considering. There's a lot to think about and a lot to do. I definitely know how to do it for Nevada, but I've helped people in other states, Maryland, Texas, counsel them on where to go find the resources. And we'll cover that in future episodes. But today, this is the first part. If I had anybody asking me, should I open my own brokerage, this would be the talk I would give them. And it's to create the pros and cons list for yourself. And so we're going to cover kind of 3 scenarios. 1, you really want to open your own independent brokerage that's your brand, your name, versus the pros and cons of joining a established real estate franchise. We know a little bit about that as well. Yeah. And a third concept, which sometimes pans out to be best solution for a lot of people that don't want to take on all of the things that we're going to talk about today, is just joining a company that supports teams, or staying in a company that supports teams, meaning don't take on the risk of being your own broker, run your team and be productive that way without what I sometimes think are a lot of headaches running your own company. Not saying there's not benefits to running your own company. I'm saying a solution may be for you to just stay in a company that has the value system and some other things that maybe, the compensation and all of that works for you. All right. So
it gets back to Jan O'Brien, what we always talk about. You need to have a plan, and it's not just your plan for the next year, it's your long-term plan. And before you would ever jump into anything about starting your own stuff, right, you really need to know what your goal is going to be, because there is a lot that goes into it. So,
that's a great point. Exit strategy needs to be for all of us, and all of these, whichever way you choose to go with this, you can set yourself up for an exit strategy, because ultimately the exit strategy is all about having systems that are duplicatable and people and all of that. And we'll save that for a topic for another day as well.
Let's jump into opening your own independent brokerage.
All right, so let's start with the pros of opening an independent real estate brokerage. And obviously the number one pro here is creative freedom and independence. It's your company.
Right.
You get to decide the model, the commission structure, your policies. Do you want to have a big company? Do you just want to have what I think is the majority of brokerages in the country, less than 20 people, maybe even less than 10 people? It's you and an assistant or an admin and a couple other agents. Honestly, that scenario is great for an independent brokerage. I feel, especially, I think there's less risk unless you really want to grow. And I think the more you grow, the more agents you have, the more risks. So you just have to think about that. And the more things that you need to do to support those agents. So if you're just a team right now and you've been thinking of starting your own company and you listen to these next several episodes, we'll walk you through everything you need to do to make that a reality, you'll decide. Today is about thinking about pros and cons and starting the conversation. Now, it's an obvious thing, but let's make sure, because it's actually something Joseph brought up in his conversation with us, is that he was going through this whole process of starting his own brokerage and then realized, oh yeah, you have to have a broker's license.
Oh, that.
And so when, got kind of put the cart before the horse a bit, but there's always a solution. You go get the broker's license yourself, which means going back and studying for that test, or maybe having to get some other courses under your belt, whatever your state requires, or you hire someone who has a broker's license, and or you partner with someone who has a broker's license. When we started our company with Rich was the broker. I had let my license purposely expire. I didn't know it had expired. I thought I just had left it on ice, and a technicality required me to go redo my license. And I just chose, I didn't want to go get the broker's license. I just got a salesman's license. So I would have had to have gone and taken the test to get the broker's license. I actually think I was trying to follow some sage advice of the wise wizard friend of mine, Matt, who he's like, you don't need that, or you don't need to be that broker again. You're right. And I don't want to be the broker. And that's why I choose option 3, because been there, done that. Okay. So you need a broker's license or someone who has one. And then you could have lower costs. Now, you're going to have to really figure that part out and do a cost analysis.
Right.
If you're at company X, what's it cost you, the commissions that come in, all the fees that you pay, or whatever else goes on, and balance that with any benefits that you get from company X. Are you getting compensation? Are you getting some marketing credits? Does the company provide tools that you use that you're going to have to go get if you're going to do it again? You have to look at all of that versus I now start my own company. What's it going to cost me for all the things that I need? Like errors and omission insurance is a big one, right, for example. We'll go through that list of things in the next episode. Things you have to consider and go, we'll crunch those numbers a little bit. But you need to do an analysis because it could be lower cost. You could be, especially sometimes with franchise companies, you may be paying way more and you might be able to keep it. But hey, are you going to open up an office? You're going to have office space. Those are going to be the two biggest things: errors and omission, office space. Yep. And if you don't already have it, admin support, right? Personnel. So maybe lower cost, you have to crunch it to see. Now, a big pro, build your own brand. You get to stay this local focused independent broker, boutique broker, if that's what you want to be. Another consideration is to decide whether you want to brand it to your name or pick another. That's one benefit of having a brokerage, by the way. In a lot of states, you have to use your name for a team or a group.
Right.
Definitely in Nevada, California's gone that way. A lot of states are following suit. But if it depends on what your exit strategy is. If you are known in the area and you have market share, you should probably use your name. In the I think of Chance Brown as an example. Mm-hmm. He had a good company. He was in a franchise and he switched to an independent. We'll have to get him to come talk about that.
Yeah, we really should. Independent
brokerage, and he stayed with I think he was CBA, Chance Brown and Associates, but he went to CB&A. And it's based on his name and it's his reputation in the community and all that. So smart move. If you want to be quickly out of the business and retire soon, and maybe you want to have a different name that has, something that's not taken. Now there's things that we'll talk about later that you have to go check. You need to go see, is there a domain name available? Is someone else using it? So you're going to have to check your local
It took business. Us forever to come up with Home Connect America.
Isn't that true, Matt? We had to keep checking because we not only did we need to find a name that we could get a domain name for a website for branding, but we needed to check the Nevada LLC to see if there was a name already taken. And then you have to check it with your local real estate board or commission to determine whether or not there's already a company with that name. So there's a lot of things to check. You just can't pick a name. You have to go check and make sure.
Right.
You don't want to drive business to someone else, and so you want to be unique, right? But that's the benefits of it. And then obviously, just like you can with team building, you can leverage income by recruiting people, attracting people to come work with you. You get to decide what the split structure is. And now you're making that money, maybe not sharing it with the brokerage. If you're like in a company where you're on splits, which a lot of the coaching clients I have are sharing the split income with their own team members. And 100%, you generally get to keep more. And that's why there's sometimes a benefit to considering staying in a company. Depends on the model. All right. So those are pros. If there's pros, there's cons. Okay. Yeah. And the cons of being an independent real estate brokerage, in my mind, number one is the greater risk and liability that you have. Because now you're responsible to carry that E&O insurance. You're where the buck stops. When you have other people under you, even in a team, you have the responsibility of them. But now as the broker of record, it's your license on the line. You have to supervise. You're agreeing to supervise per your local statutes. There's always a list of things in every state about what a broker is responsible for doing. So that is a big one. Okay, you could have lawsuits and things can go wrong if it's outside of, you're hiring people, and that's a risk. Let's just face it. Now, there's a risk that you could be sued inside of a company, but now the company's E&O is taking over, and you're just sharing in whatever that deductible is, right?
Yeah, it's a much bigger responsibility than it is when you are on, within a company.
And then you have to start considering that you may not have all the resources. So this is where you're going to have to weigh out the pros and cons of the cost factor. Do you need to have an office space? So guess what? In California, you can be a broker and you do not have to have physical space. You can work out of your home. True. That's not true in Nevada. In Nevada, you must have a placard somewhere. Now, you can have it in a Regis Suites or one of those flex spaces that you literally rent, but there has to be a place where the public can see O'Brien Emerson Realty.
Right.
And it could be on a, inside of a building where it's in the directory. It could be on a door, but there has to be a way that the public can find you. Okay. Like some kind of office space. But that varies with each state. You'd have to check on that. And then what kind of tools and systems do you need to set up? Training program. Do you have a training program? Guess what? We have one.
Yes, we do.
That would be something that if you don't have a training program for an agent training program, you can certainly partner with us to use our training program and get our soon to be published certification course to tell you how to use our training program to set it up as your training program and co-brand partner with us. Okay. What kind of marketing resources did your previous company have for you? And now you've got to replace that. And then do you have a website that's your website and CRM and all those kind of things? And then you have to start thinking about it. If you're going to recruit people, you need all these things because that's what they want too, right? So those are some of the cons. Pretty sure we have a few more. Okay, yes.
Here they come.
Running, this is the biggie beyond just thinking about your resources and risk. It's until you have opened a brokerage, you really don't become aware, or you've run a brokerage, like as a broker, which I've done. You're not aware of all the behind the scene things that it takes to truly run a brokerage. So big categories here is just an admin. Okay. Having somebody, if you have an office space, having somebody that handles admin and handles the mail and orders supplies and maybe does a million things as an office manager for you. Okay.
It's a key role.
If you don't have this, you're going to do it, by the way. Okay. All the things that go into recruiting, a recruiting game plan, who you're going to recruit, tools for recruiting, resources. Do you have a value proposition put together? You need this for a team. So now you just got to take it to the brokerage level. What are your goals for recruiting? And then compliance for agents. Do you have a good independent contractor agreement? Have you spelled out what all your policies are? What's your structure? You have to handle everything. Guess what? We have all of that, by the way. Those are all things that we have that we can consult on as generics and tell you how to get it specific for your state. But we even have a policy manual that we've used that is a good basis, for the piece that we're putting together for starting your own brokerage will be part of all this. Then you have to think about commission disbursements and 1099 and accounting software. So you have accounting software to cut checks, and then you have accounting software to run your brokerage and be able to do your taxes and run reports and check your profitability. Now, there's tons of software out there. We can definitely recommend where you can start with all of that. You can start with your own, inside your own MLS, and your state or local association sometimes has broker tools. And then you have the tools at NAR. So we could spend an hour just on those bullets alone and break them all down, which we'll do in some future podcasts. Okay. And then The other con is if you're an independent broker and you're not well known in your area and you do want to grow, you have to compete with the big guys, the guys that have a recruiting budget, that they're out there all the time, the big box brands, the people that, if you're wanting to go after new agents, which are easier to hire, you have got to be able to support new agents. Whether you're a team or a broker, you must have a training program and be ready to manage and coach them and help them through those initial transactions. You may say, forget that, I don't want to do all that, but you still want to be able to support whatever level of agent you're trying to attract. It's harder to attract an agent, even a newer agent, if they don't see that you have what you're going to be able to support them with, they're not going to join you. But you're going to be competing for those precious productive real estate agents with other people who've been doing it for a while. Okay.
Yeah, and it gets back to the whole planning thing, right? You need to know what your vision is and what your value proposition is going to be going forward. So
exactly.
Yep.
So those are the pros and cons of independent. But let's talk about weighing it to joining a franchise, okay? Because there are definitely some pros and cons to just hooking your signpost, if you will, to a national real estate franchise. So number one, obviously, is the brand recognition. Most of the companies that have a franchise, and they're growing on franchises, they have a national and international footprint, and you instantly have recognition. That's what they're going to sell you on for sure.
Yep.
You're going to have brand recognition. We're in 50 states and 3 foreign countries and this many thousands of agents, which means that you get all this referral network and all these tools, which is the next point. Usually there's turnkey tools and marketing and systems that you're going to plug into. It's basically eMyth Revisited. Here's the XYZ franchise. Here's all our stuff. You're the new franchisee, and you get to plug into everything we do. There's usually a process of going through and getting oriented and training and people that are there to support and help you get set up. Now, it depends on the franchise. That can be really great, and that can be kind of, meh. So not so much.
I was just going to say,
it depends on the people. It really depends on the people.
You need to vet that for sure.
Yeah. There usually is some type of training program that comes with the national franchises. And some of that training is really spot on solid. And you don't necessarily need our training program. Then you might be with a franchise and you want additional training, and you may still want to talk to us about that, and we can support you with that as well. And then there's whatever that back-end support system is. And the big piece here is you're going to plug into their brokerage operating systems.
Right.
So it's going to be their systems for cutting checks and reports, and that can be good or bad too. But for the guys that have been around a while, it's solid. They're working, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You plug into it. You may not like it, but you don't have to go pay for it. Well, you are paying for it because that's part of the cons.
Right. Yeah,
what you're paying for on the cons
yeah.
is nothing's free, right? It's you pay the franchise fees. You're sharing in your commissions. You're paying franchise fees, and you have to see the value. And that's, again, you have to do a cost benefit analysis. Is it more valuable to not have to go spearhead all that? And you know what I think sometimes that if your deal is to grow and build a bigger company, then franchising might be a place to go because of just what's already built in.
Yeah.
If you just want to be a smaller local, then you don't need the franchise, right? But if you want to grow, you really have to look at what franchise might work for you. And they're all different, and they all have different franchise agreements. The training resources may be basic or a little outdated for some of the guys that have been around a while. And then I would say the last con is inflexibility, right? The opposite of the pro of being independent. You're subject to the terms of the franchise agreement that you sign. Right. Okay, so you got to do things their way.
Another pro to the franchise situation is all of the big guys. They have company events, and they have company trainings and symposiums and conferences and all of that, and which can be really great for your agents if they're into that type of thing, right? To be able to have that camaraderie and that sense of something bigger and all of that too. So there is that.
Yeah, totally. So that kind of brings us back around to a third option. And I want to address it this way, is to choose a company if you're not currently in a company that supports you just building your own little team, or what we like to say, a brokerage within a brokerage.
Right. Meaning
you don't have all the negatives possibly for you, that you don't want to go set all those systems up and get all that back-end broker support set up for you if you're wanting to just grow a team of 10, 20 people. And why I say choose a company or stay in the company that is supporting you now. I really think it's important to look at the numbers. It all comes down to a financial decision. Sometimes it's about, in a company, it's finances, but it's also about the support and the tools and the loyalty and the making sure that you're with a company that's going to be there for the long haul. There can be people who start and then they're not there for you, and then that's disruptive to your business. So of course you need those things. But when I say crunch the numbers or they support teams, is that I don't know if there's, for you, if there's a benefit to building a franchise. I mean, building a team sometimes in a large franchise, unless there's an upside somewhere.
Right.
It maybe to you, you use all the tools of said company or said franchise. Maybe they're offsetting and helping you in some way, but are you earning as much money as you can in the company you're in? Or if they're not pro team, then that's not, and you want to build a team, then obviously that's an easy choice. But it's hard for people if they've been with a company for a long time and they really want to build a team, but they don't want to start their own brokerage. Then I say shop for a company that's going to support you as a team and compare that, and maybe leverage that when you go back to your company to say, hey, I really want to grow a brokerage inside of your company, and you guys have policies that are just not working, so I'm going to have to go someplace else. Right. Unless you're really ready to move into the new century we're in here and build that team, right? Or allow me to build a team without all these restrictions. So what are the benefits? Obviously, it reduces your risk because you're under the umbrella of the broker. It may be more cost effective because, again, if you're going to open your own independent contractor, you're going to have to crunch independent brokerage, add up all the costs of what you're going to have to do. And I know you don't, if you're listening, you may not know what all those are, but trust me, keep listening to this series and we're going to go over what all that is. Because there's a lot, okay? Compare it to what you're getting now and see if it makes sense, because maybe you don't have the headaches. The company handles all the admin, all the brokerage operations, all the risk stuff, all the dealing with issues that come up because an agent got in trouble and has to file a complaint was filed against them. You have to handle all that as a broker. And then this brokerage within a brokerage without all the headaches is the choice I make. That's me. I certainly could start my own brokerage again, and I just don't want to. I've been there, done that. And at this point in my career, it's not what I want, but it may be what you want. You may be younger than Matt and I and going, I want to make a name for myself and I want to be this boutique broker and I have goals. I love it. And we can support you with that. We definitely have tools to help you with it.
Yeah, and the document that we're putting together, kind of the mega checklist for starting your own brokerage or getting your franchise or staying where you are and doing your thing. We're going to have a kind of a comparison chart, dare to compare in there, so you can really sit down and kind of figure out what's going to be best for you from a financial situation. Because I think that's what's so important about it. It's all about planning, right? And really seeing the whole big picture before you jump into anything, because you got to be all in any of these versions in anything you do in real estate or in life, really, right? You make a decision, you go big or go home, right?
It's planning, and it's truly a cost benefit analysis. You really have to treat this decision as a business decision and put your business hat on. And yes, you have goals and come up with, that's the first part of it. What are your goals? What's your exit strategy? Why do you want to do it?
Yep.
What's driving you? Because for some people, it's just like, I don't want to have that control anymore. I want the freedom. The freedom and creativity part and independence part is probably the biggest driver for most people. But it comes with knowing what else you have to do to be in compliance, because you have to be in compliance transactionally. I think I skipped over that one. Obviously, your entity that manages and your rules, real estate commission division, whatever it's called, they can come in and audit your files anytime. So you've got to be in compliance per whatever the regulations are for your area. So we'll cover more of that next week. We're going to not next week. I think we have something else happening, but in an upcoming episode, we are going to be discussing the things that you need to do if you've made the decision to open an independent. We're going to go with the independent brokerage, because if you join a franchise, they're going to have a checklist and have all the things, and they're going to help you on board. So we're going to do the rest of this as a perspective of opening up an independent brokerage. You might find some things beneficial if you end up joining a franchise, but the next part is going to be about everything you need to do and the beginnings of the checklist of what you have to do before you open your brokerage.
Yeah, it certainly helps you make the decision if you were pondering all of them, right? So it helps you go down the path.
And what else are we going to cover? We're going to cover like branding and marketing. Matt's going to cover a bunch on how do you put your package together to launch and set yourself up and go through a little of all that. That's just a huge part of it. And then we're going to talk about all the back end tools and everything that you need to actually get up and running. And then we'll probably also address recruiting, like the best recruiting ideas for your team or your brokerage for any one of those scenarios.
It's an exciting adventure, right? To start something like that. It can be a lot of fun. I know we had a lot of fun when we were doing it. I don't know if you didn't mention it in the front, but the reason why we're not in that right now is there a little thing called COVID happened, which we were at a point where we decided it was maybe time to back off from that. But it was a fun experience while we were doing it. A lot challenging for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It depends on what your model is. And again, you could just be, I think of many, many people we know in every state that has a small brokerage where they just want to have their own deal and it's them. Maybe it's just them. Maybe it's you and an independent or maybe one agent, buyer's agent or something and an admin. That's okay because it's not as much risk, right?
Yep.
You can cut your own checks. You can run it the way you want to. You may not need all the things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover it from the perspective of you really want to grow a company and what's everything that's needed to support agents in today's world. Okay.
Very good. Awesome. All right, everyone. If you want to get more information, I'll have all these, all the images in the slide deck will be in our show notes. You can find those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 237. So, Jen O'Brien, what's going on in your world right now? We're a few weeks into quarter two. I know you've been your teammate or your partner has been out for a little bit, so you've been taking on some of the whole burden. It can get a little hectic, can it?
Yes, it's very important to have systems and all the things that we preach in place, and it's been great. We're out just doing some work this weekend. Took a new listing, so I'm holding an open house, Matt, tomorrow.
Excellent.
And the Golden Knights are in the playoffs, and we won last night after losing the first game. It's 1-1 as we go to Winnipeg.
There you go.
On Saturday.
Awesome.
I am going to try to do something fun Saturday. There's a watch party at the arena where the Henderson Silver Knights play, which sounds kind of fun, where the fans are going to get together and be able to watch them as they play away. It was a very exciting game. Very exciting. Go Knights, go!
Go Knights, go!
Go Knights, go! Go Knights, go!
Oh boy! All right, everyone. Also, keep your eyes peeled. We are getting very close to having our real estate sales builder certification program up and running. Which is going to show you how you can take our real estate sales builder program and implement it within your team, your franchise, or your own brokerage to great success, like Joseph did in his company. That course will be up and running hopefully sometime in the next few weeks. Hey, we said spring. There's another month left until spring is over, so we're good with all that. But if you'd like a little more information on that, touch base with us to see if what is the best option for you and how it would fit into your business. Go over to WBNLcoaching.com, and right there on the homepage, there is a form you can fill out. It's an inquiry form, and just fill that out, and we will get back to you. We can talk about it a little bit more. Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different when it comes to implementing a training program. So best for us to set a time, chat a little bit about it, and we can go from there and kind of talk about building the very best program for you.
Excellent.
So over at WBNLcoaching.com homepage, there's an inquiry right on there, or you can go to WBNLcoaching.com/RESB cert, and that will bring up that inquiry form as well. All righty, everyone, get up, get out.
You're going to do some of that, so safe travels.
I am going to do some of that. I'm headed to Florida this evening to on the red eye, which is my dreaded way to fly, but I'm looking forward to getting down there for a few days, spend a little time with my cousin. It's going to be nice, and I'll be back early next week. So it's a quick trip, but it'll be nice to get out of town for a little bit. So, but everyone should get up and get out, whether it's going on a trip or just get out there and take a little walk.
Enjoy spring.
And then, of course, live the life you dreamed, everyone, and be forever wandering, but not lost.